Hello fellow sim racers. Today I'm taking a look at the new United Racing Design Ford GT mod for Assetto Corsa. We've had a bit of a bumper week for sim racing news and releases. Fanatec revealed details of their direct drive wheels. RaceSim Studio completed their outstanding GT pack. Riser announced they'll be bringing a bunch of their content to RFactor 2, which in turn also got new content, as did RaceRoom. And amongst all of that lot, URD quietly released the Assetto Corsa version of their Ford GT. And I've got to tell you, this is a car I've been wanting for a very long time. It's been a little while since I've had to use this review format, as the last few releases have been overwhelmingly excellent. However, the URD Ford GT, while generally great, does have some areas that need a little bit of work in my opinion. But enough about that for now, let's take a look at what's good. Let's start with how the car looks. For the most part, the URD car looks dead on. Like many of their more recent efforts, the interior detail is great, as are the textures. Arguably, the fidelity of some of the details isn't quite up there with the very best on offer, but at the same time, it's a lot better than some of the official efforts. Moving on to the bit that you probably care most about, how the car drives. And it's all good news in this department. Broadly speaking, the car feels like the other GTE cars in the game, but it does have its own distinct personality. Based on the stock setup at least, the GT has a much more neutral balance than, for example, the Corvette, and as such has a much more responsive front end. And while we're on the subject, URD have done a great job with the default setup. In the past, some of their cars have been very edgy on the stock settings, but right out of the box the GT is very drivable. Force feedback is nice and detailed, and again it feels broadly comparable to the Kunos GTE cars. However, the overall strength is a bit on the low side, so I had to turn up the overall FFB strength for the car using the in-game app. Based on my wheel and global settings, 135% seemed about right. Performance-wise, the GT is in the ballpark with the Kunos GTE cars, with different cars' advantages playing out depending on the circuit. For example, at Lilski's excellent Watkins Glen mod, I could lap almost a second quicker than the Corvette and the Porsche, in qualifying trim at least. However, at Le Mans in race trim, the Porsche felt like the car to have, which is eerily representative of how things have gone down in the real world this year. Finally, a word about sound. The URD team have done an exceptional job here, and the GT sounds exactly like the real thing, including all of those weird off-throttle noises it makes. The only thing missing is the annoying brake squeal, and I think we can all live without that. Overall, the real Ford GT isn't going to win any awards for the sounds it emits, but the URD team have faithfully recreated it, warts and all. So, with all that being said, there are some areas that leave a little to be desired. First and foremost, weirdly, there's no brake disc glow. I'm not sure why the team hasn't included this, as I'm sure they have on other Assetto Corsa mods in the past. So I'm hoping that this is just an oversight that will be cured in an update in the future. Next up, the position indicator panels aren't present, which is a bit of a shame as other mods have included these in the past, such as the excellent Daytona prototype by IER Simulations. Another issue that I'm having is that the in-game representation of the steering wheel rotates to a sharper angle than my actual wheel. It's not off by a lot, but it's enough to be noticeable and it can be a little distracting. This may be a quirk of my setup, but I don't seem to have this problem with any other cars. Finally, and I guess it isn't really all that important, but the stock skins look pretty dull, particularly when compared to the excellent skin pack by Queel on Race Department that I'm using in this video. There's a link in the description. I've been waiting for a long time to get hold of a decent Ford GT for Assetto Corsa. There have been a couple of rips from other titles floating around for a while, but the general consensus is that they're not really worth the effort. But the GTE and GTLM fields in this game have been crying out for the GT, and I for one am glad that we finally have one that looks good and drives well. That all being said, there are a few issues with this mod, though for me none of them are deal breakers, though your mileage may vary. However, this is a payware mod, and there is some expectation of quality that comes with adding a price tag, especially when there are lots of excellent freeware mods available. So I for one would like to see the brake disc issue solved and the position indicator panels added in a future update. So, in closing, URD have done a great job with the Ford GT, but there are a few outstanding issues that need to be addressed. The mod makes an excellent addition to the game, and for me at least, is well worth the cost, which is a little less than a pint in my local. So that about wraps things up for my first look at the United Racing Design Ford GT. If you're interested in purchasing this mod, I've put a link to the URD web store in the video description. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, then it would be great if you could hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. If you've got any suggestions for content you'd like to see on the channel in future, then please let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for donating your precious free time by watching. It is very much appreciated. So all that's left to say is goodbye, thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.